Pokemon Emerald Seaglass is a fan-made reimagining of Pokemon Emerald, with an insanely cool art style, up-to-date mechanics, and plenty of surprises along the way. So I thought, what better way to experience it for the first time than with a hardcore Nuzlocke? That means I can only catch the first Pokemon in any route or area, I'll be playing on set mode and not using items in battle. Oh, and if a Pokemon faints, it's gone forever. So, do we have what it takes to go all the way and become champion? Let's find out. We kick things off by picking our starter, Trico, who we name Kara. Thanks to a special code, we can claim an encounter in Little Root Town, an Apom named Red. And let me tell you, she's insane. Not only does she have a busted moveset, she also comes equipped with an Eviolite. Our first rival battle against May quickly turns into a reality check. Her Torchic has speed boost. Turns out this game has made a bunch of changes, abilities being one of them. We add Libya the Spearow and Callie the Lotad to the squad before helping Wally catch his first Pokemon. We then head to Route 104 where we find a Marill named Oman, which turns out to be a fitting nickname because, oh man, he has thick fat instead of huge power. Guess that's all we'll be seeing of Oman then. In Petalburg Woods we pick up Tasman the Slackoff and have our first run-in with Team Aqua. We make it to Rustboro and I come across a wishing well, which spits out a random Pokemon in exchange for a wishing star. Sounds like gambling to me, so I'm in. And we hit the jackpot as we get ourselves a Totodile who I call Biscuit. We round out the catching spree with Japan the Pikachu and Bearing the Swinub, and now it's time for the gym. Now, I'm going into this semi-blind. I have a document with encounter info, but I don't know the leader teams. So when Roxanne sends out Anorith, I'm caught completely off guard. Still, I've given Kara the Eviolite, so I feel safe enough to fire off a Bullet Seed, which falls just short of the KO. Luckily, Roxanne goes for Bubble. I switch into Biscuit on the heal, and after tanking a couple of smackdowns, she takes out Anorith with a Water Gun. Next up is Lily, so we switch into Red, and she comes in clutch, getting a one-hit KO with Karate Chop. Feeling confident, I decide to do a little victory dance. This means we can take out Nosepass with 2 Karate Chops, securing us the first badge. Fresh off our first gym win, we're immediately thrown into a high-speed pursuit. A Team Aqua grunt has stolen some poor guy's handbag. But that's not all. He's also kidnapped a grown man's seagull, meaning we have a full-blown hostage situation on our hands. Luckily, we quickly take down the grunt and reunite Pico with its owner. And our reward for this heroic act? A meeting with the president himself. Oh, and a free boat ride. Whee! After a quick detour to chat with Steven, it's time to take on gym number 2. I did just learn that the Eviolite prevents evolutions in this game, meaning we're still rocking a level 19 Trico instead of a Grovyle. Not ideal, but we roll with it. We lead off with Libya, who one-shots Makuhita with ease. So far, so good. And then, Brawly sends out a freaking Heracross. This thing is a menace. It slams Libya with knockoff, and we fall painfully short with a 4 times effective Aerial Ace. Now, at this point, I don't have a safe switch, so I make the difficult decision to stay in. We then suffer the first loss of the run as Libya goes down. Rest in peace. Things are looking grim, but Red comes through, outspeeding Heracross and saving us from potential disaster. The Meditite that follows is not nearly as scary. It spends its time setting up screens and spamming bulk up, but Kara cleans it up with ease, and just like that, Badge 2 is ours. With Badge 2 secured, we do the usual Slateport errands, beating up some grunts, stopping yet another hostage situation, and along the way, Kara evolves. Then things take a weird turn. Outside the Pokemon Center, we meet a mysterious guy who whisks us away to Pacific Town. Cool, I guess. We try and fail to catch a Scyther in the grass, but no worries, our scuba safari pays off with a horsey named Tay, and now it's time for one of the scariest rival fights in all of Pokemon. Thankfully, Red the overpowered monkey makes quick work of Mantike. Biscuit steps in to handle Combuskin, and then Red returns to KO Lombre. Quite easy actually. Not done yet, Red keeps up her rampage, taking down Wally too. Seriously, this Apom is a problem. For everyone else. As we evolve Aiden the Nincada, I learned something wild. It gains the dark typing. That's when I check my other Pokemon and find out they have new typings too. That's right, Emerald Seaglass has added a bunch of new typings to Pokemon. Most notably, Kara is now part Dragon type, so after the shock of the last 2 gyms, I'm not taking any chances. I set up 3 victory dances with Red and promptly KO Watson's Volbeat. If Red wasn't busted enough, she also has Baton Bass, so we hand off +3 attack and defense to Kara, who Leaf Bleeds Manectric into oblivion. Magneton survives a Rock Smash but misses Supersonic, so yeah, it's done too on the next turn. Last up is Flaffy, and look, I won't lie, it's the cutest thing ever, but cuteness won't save you here as Leaf Blade takes it down just like the rest. I'll be real, that felt a little cheap, maybe even a bit dirty, but do you know what? Badge number 3 is ours. Now, long-time viewers of the channel will know I'm a big fan of investing. So naturally, our next stop is the game corner, where we hit up some pinball and walk away with an Alolan egg which hatches into a Marowak called Wedlocke. After making our way through northwestern Hoenn and a massive catching spree, a lot of our squads are pushing the level cap, so we take the B team up Mount Chimney for some action. This is where we get into our first real fight with Team Magma, and it's maxi time. Annie, the Nidoqueen, cleans up Mightyena with ease. Then he sends out Gligar, and this thing is a nightmare. Acrobatics wrecks us, and Dead the Duskull lives up to her name by dying. Bearing the Swinub comes in clutch, ice sharding Gligar into oblivion. Next is Camerupt, so we go into Callie. She tanks a Lava Plume but falls just short with Bubble Beam, and just like that, Callie joins Dead in being dead. Thankfully, Tay the Horsey swoops in and secures the win, but that was not nice. We lick our wounds, pick up a Fampe named Nile on Jagged Pass before heading to Fallerbortown. Now, with all the game changes, I was hoping the egg here would be something good, but no, it's still a why not. So, in the spirit of totally pointless things, I name it the Gulf of America and move on. So up next is Flannery, so we bring in Nile the Donphan and Hudson the Gyarados for some fresh power. Biscuit makes quick work of Slugma before taking out Flareon with a Waterfall. Then comes Torkoal. Waterfall doesn't even do half, so we swap into Wyluku, who tanks a sun boosted overheat like an absolute champ. She fires off a Tract, but Wyluku ain't no simp. He powers through and just barely misses the KO with Boomerang. We switch into Nile on the heel, who unfortunately is a simp. This sexy turtle has him completely immobilised, refusing to attack. He does eventually lock in, and after some bulldozes we finally land the KO. For Camerupt, we go into Hudson, only to realise I forgot to teach him a water move. Oops. Luckily, Biscuit comes in and secures us badge number 4. No messing around this time, we're heading straight to the gym to take on our dad, Norman. But first, Biscuit evolves. Not only does she get a kick-ass sprite, but she also picks up the dark type, which is really cool. So Norman leads with Spinda, who immediately sets up Teeter Dance. We swap into Hudson, who, oops, accidentally boosts Spinda's attack. Oh well, we go for it anyway and secure the KO. Next up is Politoed, who I can only assume has been given the normal typing in this game. After some clever switches between Hudson and Wyluku, stacking Intimidates and dodging Body Slams, we bring in Biscuit for the KO. Then comes Slacking, which could be a problem, but isn't. We play it safe, rotating between Intimidates and dodging Yawns until he eventually goes down. Finally, Vigoroth comes in, but he dropped just as easily as the rest, and just like that, badge number 5 is ours. With Surf unlocked, we head out, only to find Team Aqua up to their usual nonsense. Stealing handbags and seagulls wasn't enough for them, now they've hijacked an entire weather institute. Luckily, Red is ready. She wipes the floor with Shelly's Ludicolo and Mightyena, and as a reward, she evolves. Red isn't done yet though, because next up is May, and Red sweeps her entire team. No strategy, just brute force. Since most of our main squad is past the level cap at this point, it's time to bring back the B team for this fight. Winona's Sphero goes down instantly to Clyde the Manectric. Tropius is up next and Firefang does nothing. We then take a massive Solar Beam but barely clutch out the KO with some discharges. Skarmory then comes in and fires off a Flying Gem boosted Aerial Ace, which doesn't look good for Clyde. But he's able to hang on and zaps it down with Discharge. Winona's final Pokemon, Altaria, comes in, so we switch into Hudson to dodge Earthquake. A couple of Ice Fangs later and badge number 6 is ours. Now, apparently a life of petty crime and repeated beatdowns from 10-year-olds has taken its toll on Team Aqua. Instead of stealing handbags and seagulls, they've now gone full goth and have started loitering around in a graveyard. So, to give them even more reasons to be goths, we beat them up some more. This apparently pleases the elderly folks here, as they reward our violence with the Magma emblem, so we head to the Magma hideout. On the way, I stumble into a shiny Manectric. Now, I think the shiny odds are boosted in this game, but since this is just a casual run, I decide to enforce Shiny Claws and catch Clyde number 2, and Bearing evolves into Mamoswine. Now, the Magma hideout is uneventful, but we do have a score to settle with Maxie. This time we come prepared for Gliscor, and Bearing smacks it down with Icicle Crash. We then go into Biscuit, who handles Camerupt and Ursaring. Then the non-shiny Clyde takes care of Crobat. After this we head to the Aqua hideout, which is completely uneventful. So we move on to Moss Deep City, which has grass now. And then the best thing ever happens. We catch a Flaffy, who I call Banda. Get it? Banda. We lead with Aiden and Bisky, but right away, Mischievous Moonblast Aiden right out of existence. He then sets up Calm Mind, but luckily Bearing is here to stop him in his tracks with Icicle Crash. Solrock comes in and sets up Sunny Day, but we take it out before it can start firing off solar beams. That leaves Lunatone and Claydol, but honestly, they can't do much. Bisky, Bearing and Hudson team up for the win, and with that, badge number 7 is ours. Before we can get dive, we head to the Space Center, where we have another battle with Maxie, this time a double battle, and oh boy, Houston, do we have a problem. Despite being paralysed, Gliscor still outspeeds Nile and takes out Clyde with a bulldoze. Things go from bad to worse as Ursulana comes in and lands a close combat on Red, taking her out. She's been so clutch this entire run, one of our best team members since Littleroot, and I am so gutted to lose her. She was basically like our second starter. Luckily, we still have Kara. What the hell? At this point, I'm desperate. I need the damage output, so I go for Earthquake on Bearing, which unfortunately takes out Nile in the process. Well, at least we still have Biscuit. What do you mean it has Thunderous Kick? I've never even heard of that move. Now, Bearing is our only Pokemon left standing, and to add insult to injury, she gets decapitated by an Earthquake. Thankfully, she is able to clutch a 2v1 and somehow finishes off Maxie. What even was that? While Team Aqua were out here stealing Seagulls, Maxie has been studying the blade or something. We have lost far too many Pokemon to this guy. But as one door closes, another opens. This disaster allows me to bring in 2 of my all-time favourite Pokemon, Tay the Kingdra and Banda the Ampharos. So we head to the seafloor cavern and, unlike his ground-loving counterpart, Archie is just kinda there. Banda fries Wailord, Kosi the Altaria comes in and cleans up Breloom and Sharpedo, while Bearing swats down Crobat. Apparently this beatdown is so bad that it caused global warming, so we head to Sootopolis to have a stern talk with Kyogre and Groudon. Hey guys, can you just not do that? But it turns out global warming is actually caused by big corporations, and no matter how many paper straws we're forced to drink out of, there's only so much one person can do. So we call in the big guns. We travel to Sky Pillar to wake up the one person who can end climate change. That's right, we summon Rayquaza from her eternal slumber. Back in Sootopolis, Rayquaza flies in to give Kyogre and Groudon a proper telling off.
How dare you! You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words.
Cool, global warming solved. Keeping in the theme of telling people off, Wallace makes us go and shout at Maxie for murdering our entire team. But honestly, I'm over it. It's time for one thing and one thing only. It's time for Juan. Now, it's never a good sign when the water-type gym leader starts the battle with a "did you know?" But there's no Vaporeons to be seen as Juan leads with Starmie, and it's Amazon the Tropius who wipes it out with a combination of Flower Trick and Matcha Gotcha. Amazon is here for a good time, not a long time however, as he immediately gets destroyed by an Ice Gem boosted Ice Beam from Kingdra. Posey comes in and survives an Ice Beam, but gets frozen before she can get an attack off. We then switch to Argentine the Munchlack, who gets confused and subsequently hits himself. Clyde number 2 comes in and lands a discharge, but it's not enough, and she falls to a Water Pulse. Luckily, Banda is done with this nonsense and zaps Kingdra into oblivion. The rest of the fight is much smoother as Tay the Kingdra takes out Wishcash and Banda fries Celio and Octillery. And with that, badge number 8 is ours. So after navigating Victory Road and beating up Wally for good measure, it's time to prep for the Elite Four. Now, I don't usually record during the prep, and I am so annoyed that I don't, because on the way to the Safari Zone, something insane happened. I ran into a shiny Skiploom. I'm so annoyed I wasn't recording, but Flores joins the team. And if that wasn't crazy enough, while taking one last team photo before the Elite Four, I find out we have Pokeros. Now, I know shiny odds are boosted, but I have no idea if Pokeros is too. Either way, it's super rare and still a really cool thing to happen, even if it doesn't matter too much this late in the game. Anyway, it's time to take on the Elite Four, and first up is Sydney. I wish there was something exciting to say here, but Kozu the Altaria uses Moonblast 5 times, and that's the battle. The level curve in the Hoenn Elite Four is all over the place, so Sydney never stood a chance. It gets harder from here, I promise. Now, that Sydney fight was so unforgettable, I somehow think Phoebe is a dark type trainer and lead with Sulu the Hariyama, which is a horrible idea because she's actually a ghost type specialist. So I instantly switch to Flores, who is kind of a cop-out. She spams Spore and Leech Seed to shut down Dusclops. Frostlass comes in and is actually quite annoying. She lands Will-O-Wisp on Bearing and Banda, but eventually falls to a power gem. Dusknoir comes in and lands an Earthquake, but Banda thugs it out and survives. We then go back to our get out of jail card, Flores, who sets up another Spore and Leech Seed combo. I figure Dusknoir is low enough, so I go for an Acrobatics, which does nothing. She then wakes up and fires off a critical hit Ice Beam, which we just survive. Luckily, Bearing comes in and cleans things up. Mismagius is up next, and Bearing falls just short with a Glacial Lance. Mismagius starts firing off Moonblast, and I don't really have a safe switch. I put my faith in Cozy, who is unable to outspeed, so she then falls to another Moonblast. Rest in peace. Bearing then comes back in for the revenge KO. We then go to Tay, who's able to take out Banette, meaning that that's Phoebe done. Our third Elite Four member is Glacia, and she leads with Dugong, but Sulu handles it with a couple of Salt Cures. Glaceon is up next, and she drops her attack with Chilling Water, so we switch to Banda on the heal. Banda then takes out Glaceon with a few power gems. Then, Walrein happens. Banda isn't able to outspeed Walrein and gets hit with a massive Ice Beam. Why is a giant walrus faster than a sheep? Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe it makes sense. I don't know. Anyway, our woolly mammoth somehow is faster, which definitely doesn't make sense, as Bearing comes in and gets the KO with Earthquake. Cloyster is up next, so we switch into Tay, who eats a Hydro Pump. I'm not sure why this is a special attacking Cloyster, but whatever. Tay takes it out with an Aurasphere. Glalie is the last one standing, but a few more Auraspheres from Tay sealed the deal, and that is Glacia down. This next fight is massive. Up next is Drake and his dragons, and if we can't hold on, we're going home. He leads with Kingdra. I'm not sure about God's plan, but my plan is to shut this thing down with Flores, using Spore and Leech Seed. Kingdra, however, has other plans. Kingdra wakes up, fires off an Ice Beam, and we barely survive. Now at this point, I'm having some trust issues, so I go into Sulu. The combo of Salt Cure and Leech Seed takes out Kingdra. Salamence is up next, and this sprite is just too good. We switch into Bearing, who takes care of Salamence with a Glacial Lance. Rake sends out Steelix, but that's child's play for Tay. She doesn't have any water moves, but I love me some Auraspheres. We land these back to back and take out Steelix. Altaria swoops in, and I consider switching Tay, but she says, "Over my dead body, this is all me." 2 Ice Beams later, Altaria is down. Finally, Flygon enters the battlefield. We need to take care, so I offer Tay the switch. How about now? We go into Flores and try to get control of this fight with Spore. We swap to Bearing, and I'm immediately in my feelings as Flygon wakes up and lands a Flamethrower. But life is good. Bearing tanks it and finishes off the fight with Glacial Lance. That's Drake down, and we're in a state of euphoria as we prove the Elite Four are not like us. Now, all that stands between us and victory is Wallace. He leads with Wailord, which is somehow still faster than Banda. Why are we so slow? It doesn't matter, we get the KO with Thunderbolt. Milotic comes in and it's a menace as always. Surf takes out Sulu. Rest in peace, buddy. Flores does nothing with Giga Drain and then tanks an Ice Beam on 3 HP. Not messing around anymore, we put it to sleep with Spore and eventually take it down. Wallace then sends out Tentacruel, so we make the switch to Bearing on a measly Ice Beam. Next turn, Bearing crushes it with an Earthquake. Gyarados comes in next and things get dicey. It goes for one dance. Wait, I'm not doing the Drake bit anymore. Banda is too weak, so Bearing toughs it out and gets the KO. Wishcash is up next, but it's not a threat. It spams Amnesia, and Flores easily takes it down and gets back to full health, as Wallace sends out his final Pokemon, Ludicolo. But there's nothing he can do, and Flores secures us the win with 2 Acrobatics, meaning we've won the entire run. Is what I would usually say, but I have one small issue with Pokemon Emerald. Now, Emerald is better in every way except one. This Wallace chap is a complete pushover compared to the one true champion of Hoenn. So, after entering these guys in the Hall of Fame, I go on one last quest. We make our way to Meteor Falls, where the real final battle awaits. We add Wailuku back to the team and bring in Pacific the Slowking. Steven leads with Skarmory, who sets up spikes. Banda then lands a huge Thunderbolt and Skarmory hangs on thanks to its sturdy ability. Steven then switches out to Claydol, so we get the hell out and switch into Pacific. I get greedy and go for a nasty plot, but Clairol is faster and gets the KO on Pacific. Rest in peace. Time for plan B, Flores and her scumbag tactics. Spore and Leech Seed slowly whittle down Clairol. We then go into Tay as Steven heals, but just before we get the KO, Steven switches again. Aggron enters and we fire off a not very effective Surf, so I assume Aggron is part Dragon now. Not a problem though, as Aurasphere gets us the knockout. Metagross is up next, but it's no match for Tay. A couple of Dark Pulses take it down. Steven then sends out Cradily, and this thing is annoying. It takes an Ice Beam like it was nothing and starts firing off Confuse Rays. It almost takes out Wailuku with an Ancient Power, so we go back into Tay, who gets confused again. I don't really have an option but to risk it here, and Tay unfortunately hits herself and sadly falls. Rest in peace, Queen. This lets Bearing come in and take out Cradily with a Glacial Lance. Thankfully, it's smooth sailing from here as Armaldo is up next. A couple of Earthquakes from Bearing and it's gone. There's not much left to do as Bearing cleans up the rest of Steven's team, and that's it. Hoenn has been conquered, Steven has been dethroned, and this team of absolute legends has cemented itself in history. Now, this has probably been one of the easier challenge runs I've done on this channel, but I still had an absolute blast with this game. I love the art style, the gameplay was super enjoyable, and if you haven't played it yet, I would definitely check it out. So if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like, or if you're feeling extra nice, feel free to subscribe to the channel. There's plenty more Pokemon challenges on the way, and you don't want to miss them. But for now, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.